I just love to talk with people and songwriters in particular who are professional and non-performing songwriters. I guess you might fall in that category.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are the ones that fascinate me because you probably are comfortable hanging out behind that artist instead of up front on the stage.
I
Maybe.
like to perform actually.
Oh, good.
In this late part of life, I'm like, but I not perform like, oh, I want to get a record deal. Just I feel more comfortable in my skin just playing my songs.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to bring you back from this break here. I just didn't want to be awkward and ask, hey.
It is okay.
Thank you. And by the way, Shelley Peiken is back with me. What a wonderful woman. We just had a great time talking. I did anyway. On my side, I'm having a ball because she's somebody I admire. She is very prolific and she has got a list as long as my arm and her arm together probably.
Aww.
Yeah. And a lot of these things, you started out in the 80s, Shelley, as a songwriter, and I understand your first thing was Taylor Dane. You got a song recorded or two songs recorded on her album, right? Or singles, I don't know. But can you tell me about when I was at that event, you told a quick little story about how you went over to her house. And
I did.
Yeah, could you tell that to people?
She was making a record. I had heard some of the songs from her record, and I tried. The producer, Rick Wake, who was recording it with her, was living locally, and I was living on Long Island at the time. And I actually tried to write something that I thought was in keeping with the material I had heard that she had already recorded. This new song I wrote, I actually didn't love that much, but I thought it was sort of the same ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
But to be sure, on this cassette, and I don't even know if anybody knows what a cassette is anymore.
No, I know.
I put a second song that I had written all by myself the week before that actually came to me in a very inspired way. And this was a great lesson. I dropped the cassette outside her door one night in the rain, and the next day I found out from Rick, and I write about this in my forthcoming, with a lot more detail. But Rick called to say, she didn't really get that one you wrote for her, but she loved the second one. What was that? And I thought, see, it just goes to show you when you're trying really hard to write something exactly for someone, it can never take the place of something that resonates with them because it was inspired in you. And she recorded the second song, and that was my first ever recording. This was, I think, in 1986 or 1987, and that album sold 3 million records worldwide. I tell a lot of new songwriters this because that's when albums were selling, and I think I quit my job because even though it was an album cut after 3 million records, I don't want to do the math, it's kind of shocking, but it allowed me to quit my job.
Wow. And that was like a triple platinum. You said three.
It was triple platinum,
yeah,
and if you wrote a whole song and you published it yourself, you were making, I don't know, what was the statutory rate back then, maybe 7, 8 cents per record?
Yeah, I think it might have been, yeah.
So, I was off to a good start then.
That's great. Now I have to be talked to like a 12-year-old when it comes to matters of that. When it's talking about 7, 8 cents, it's like I've read so many books on the subject that my head starts to hurt when I look at what songwriters went through and then what they're getting paid now.
Yeah.
And I know you have opinions on that because you put them out there publicly. So that's something that I would direct people to your site. And hopefully, now you're going to have that in your new book called Confessions of a Serial Songwriter?
Yes, Confessions of a Serial Songwriter is something I started writing a couple of years ago. I didn't even realize I was writing a book. I started just sitting down and writing about how much the business had changed because of technology, because of so many things. And look, when I started out, I was 20, everyone else was 20, and now everyone's 20, and I'm a lot older. So it's nobody's fault. Its dynamics have changed, and I look at things differently. But technology and streaming has definitely changed the business model. I love streaming. I love having songs at my fingertips whenever I want them, whatever I want to hear, wherever I am. It's just that issue is more with how much we are being paid for streaming. And the problem is that we are being paid according to laws that were made in 1941. And we're living
Right.
in a digital age, and we need to update the laws. We also need to have mindfulness that copyright and a song someone writes actually belongs to somebody. A song doesn't belong to a tech company who is making it able to be accessed. So not to get too technical, but
Oh.
songwriters should, I wish we could all just sign petitions that come up on my Serial Songwriter Facebook page.
Right.
If you go to Facebook and like me there and put me top of your feed, you will get petitions that matter to not only songwriters, but musicians, composers, photographers, authors, because the definition of copyright is being chipped away at, and it could be that in a couple of years, we won't even own the things that we create.
Yeah.
There, in a nutshell, it lies. But my book isn't all about that, Dean. It's mostly a lot of very funny and absurd and emotional and endearing anecdotes
Wonderful.
of my journey over the last 20 years
Beautiful.
in the songwriting business. And I hope it will entertain people, and I hope it will enlighten and inspire them as well.
I'm going to get it. And
Yeah.
I've been actually waiting for a long time. I had my reasons for sort of stalling out on asking you on the show because I asked you that day in September of last year,
Right.
and you agreed, but I had my reasons for stopping and not getting
Well,
to you
here's
yet.
the thing. Here's the beautiful story. I started writing the book. I tried to get somebody to publish it. This was, it's very hard. It was almost like writing my first song. I didn't know what I was doing, writing a book. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was going along the lines of self-publishing it. So if I were to have self-published it, it would have come out this month. Lo and behold, in the 11th hour, Hal Leonard wanted to publish my book.
Oh, very
on,
good.
Backbeat.
Oh, great.
That's a division of Hal Leonard that is actually looking into and feeling very passionate about memoir and biography. And I still don't want to talk about it too soon because
That's okay.
the ink is drying as we speak, and it should be pretty formal in a matter of days. But because they are publishing it and I am not self-publishing it, a marketing plan needed to get in order, and it pushed everything back. So, I mean, I think I started talking about this on Facebook a little too soon. I was a novice, and it was uncharted territory, and when I started talking about it, I thought, oh, it's going to be out in 6 months. Well, 2 years later, I mean, everything takes, literary is crazy. You think a song takes a while to come out. But we are good to go, and we're going to soft launch it at the NAMM show here in Los Angeles in January.
Nice.
And they will have it in stores about probably March 1st.
Oh, good.
So we're going to start pre-sale soon, but everything's a go. And I actually think the book got a lot better because of all the technological changes that are taking place.
Yes.
And it would have been premature to put the book out a year ago and not really get into addressing the changes and what we could do and what we are waiting for. In the last year, I probably have gotten myself an education. I know so much more about very important things that matter or should matter to creators. And had I not included that a little bit more deeply in my book, it would have been a missed opportunity. So this time has given me more opportunity to shed some light on that.
Oh, great. Well, I want people to, when you told me, you sent me a message saying that you were going to but same thing that you just told me right now is
Right.
self-published, but then you got a publisher. But Hal Leonard, that's I don't see how you could have said no. That was really good.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
perfect. It's
Yeah.
perfect because it's my little niche. I'm not going on Simon and Schuster where there's books about everything. I mean, Hal Leonard is passionate about all things music, and
Yes.
the fact that they have Backbeat now, which is it called an imprint or a division of Hal Leonard that is looking, is wanting books about or publishing books on that are memoir and about people's lives and their experience and their journey. It was just unbelievable how that happened.
Yeah.
It was perfect, and I think had it happened a year ago, it might have been too soon. I think the universe made me really go through full circle what I needed to go through before somebody said, "Yeah, we want that."
Yeah. Well, sometimes when you get published by some company, they'll all of a sudden tell you don't give away this, don't give away that. Is there anything you might be able to, one little thing you might be able to tease from the book that was coming?
Oh,
Big silence here as I wait.
I put something out a couple of weeks ago that I was really thinking about holding back, and that was because before I really realized I wanted to be a songwriter, I was in college and I was in a performance, a musical performance, and I was recruited from somebody in the audience to be in the Miss America pageant, along with a lot of other girls that were in that show.
Okay.
And I said, sure, why not, very casually. And this was in the state of Maryland. I was going to school at the University of Maryland.
Okay.
And about 5 of us said yes. Well, I won that state competition, and next thing I knew, I was in the Miss America pageant. And this chapter, I think, really reveals about how we find who we want to be in life, not only from the choices we make, but the things we choose to do that we find out
absolutely
aren't our road. And I have no bad feelings about that and no regrets, but it really taught me about who we should say yes to and who we should say no to, and that little inner voice is saying, is this who we really want to be?
I like that post. I did see that too. Yeah, that's good. It may or may not be in the book, but like I said, I'm not going to poke you and prod you about that whole thing, but because I really want to be surprised when I read it, and I think I just want everybody to get excited about the book because it's an important thing, and you being in the biz like you are, and the success that you were experiencing, and all the things all the wisdom that you teach to the younger generation, shall we say, that gives you some street cred, and people will really want to read this.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, the business is changing a lot, and the culture and the way we get into rooms and write, the craft and the process is changing, but creativity is creativity. Mm-hmm. And I think the book is also just a lot of fun, peeking behind the scenes of where songwriting and the craft was at 20 years ago and how it got to be the way it is today.
Yeah. And
it's not a judgment. There's no better or worse. It's just different, and it's fun to see how it evolved. Okay.
Fantastic, Shelley. You were talking about the Miss America, and I saw some of that stuff. A little confused here about now, as a girl, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask how old you are. You keep hinting, and then but you don't put your age out there. Is that on purpose?
Anybody could read. If they read the book, they're going to figure it out.
They're going to figure it out. I sort of did, but then I don't want to. I just want to make sure that we're.
Yeah, sometimes it comes out of my mouth, and I'm like, "Is that true? Is that true?"
I just don't. I want to get on there and say, "Hey, Shelley, you just said something. Don't do that."
I feel like a baby in so many ways, and I feel, I feel all different ages, and it's really not a number; it's a state of mind.
Oh, absolutely,
so that's why I just like to keep it that way.
And the reason the reason I sort of joked about that is because you are working with younger songwriters, and they, I think that just from a faraway perspective, it looks like that they respect you and that they relate to you, and it's vice versa.
Some of them do, and some of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them would love to get in a room with me every day, and some of them say, "Oh my God, she's as old as my mother. What am I doing?"
Oh, I know.
So, that's okay. I look at some very young artists and think they inspire me, and I want to be in a room with them. Yeah. And some of them I look at and say, they're as young as my daughter, and we have nothing in common, and they're not interested in me, and I'm not really interested in them.
Yeah.
It really depends. It's not about the age. It's the state of mind. I have friends who are 70 who are younger in spirit than friends of mine who are 30.
Oh no,
And
absolutely, I
vice
do too.
versa. So,
But you said something that I sort of took away from that one event. You said something like go where the love is. Don't if they're not into you, then you're not into them. Forget
as
it.
goes with anything in life.
Absolutely.
Any kind of company you keep.
Nice.
Right? In
Yes.
any room.
My songwriting partner, who I'm going to see tomorrow, he says, let's get together and we'll just bang around a few ideas. And we hadn't done that in maybe 8 years, so it's going to be interesting to come back to that. And we get a little off track.
That's okay. That's what we creators do.
Yeah. So, when you say, and since I was talking about collaborating, you've Guy Roach. What was the man like to work with?
Oh, Guy's a gentle soul. He's thoughtful and considerate and so musical. I loved working with Guy because I could walk in the room there and he always could play something that would make me think of something that I might not have had when I walked in the room.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's called inspiring. And he could also look at words that I came in and just know where to go. We had a nice little run there. I don't know what makes people move on from each other.
Mm-hmm.
A curiosity to see how you'd be in another writing relationship or different writing relationships with different partners. I guess in life and love, if we choose to have a more common kind of relationship, what's the word? Not common. We choose to maybe marry and be monogamous and stay faithful. We don't have to be that way creatively, and I think that there's we can indulge in different relationships legally and morally, and find different parts of ourselves that in contrast with variety.
Well, that's good. Thank you for thinking that out a little bit, because I was curious about you two had a couple of hits.
We did.
You had Brandy's hit and you had
Right,
Christina's.
Almost Doesn't Count.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how was now those sound like two different types of songs, or I don't know, not genres, but both of them have vocals that sort of go all over the place, right? So
Which one?
well, the Brandy one, not so much, but Christina, you know how she always she does those vocal runs that go up and down.
Yeah, but you know what? That wasn't part of the songwriting.
That's what I wanted to get to.
That was because Christina is just such a great singer and stylist, and she takes it to where she drives it. She gets in my little car and she drives it, and she goes her own way.
Well, you caught what the real question was when you two write a song like that and it's completed. Perhaps you did a demo or something like that, and are you surprised of the outcome, the final product?
Pleasantly.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Speaking of the demos, do you do that on occasion when you want to work with somebody else, or do you just get in a room with, say, Guy or Meredith when you did that one album and things like that, or was it separate?
Do I do with the artist, you mean?
Yeah.
I very often write with the artist.
In the same room, right? You
Sure.
don't, yeah, that's the way to do it. I know some people do it on different coasts, and it's kind of weird the way it sort of has evolved, but the best way is just get yourself in the room with the instruments and the paper and start doing it. Yeah.
You got to be in proximity, breathing the same air.
Can you let me reminisce a little about Meredith Brooks? How was she to work with?
Sure. Meredith was a dynamo. She was very focused. She really believed in herself. And she was, she played guitar great. She sang great. And she was open to taking walks with. I mean, we wrote the half of her album together.
Yeah.
Just by walking and talking, and things would come up. We were in a room the day we wrote "Bitch" with an acoustic guitar and not even a boombox, not even a beat. knew the idea of what we wanted to write,
Oh, good.
and it was just we just batted it back and forth like a ping pong game.
So it was a little bit of give and take. Were you top heavy on the part with the lyrics?
Oh no,
Okay.
that was like completely 50-50. Line, 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 line. It was divine.
Yeah. Now,
it was really good.
some of those other album cuts that they didn't get enough credit, because I remember I haven't picked up that album in years. I had the CD back then, and I remember the first one out of the box was I Need.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of those other ones. And she always, she would sort of have that little rap style where she would just speak the words and in rhythm and then sing, and she had an attitude, and I thought I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. So
she did.
So did you also have a like attitude with her, or was it something you stepped up to?
What do you mean a like attitude?
Do you have kind of that swagger that she presented in the songs that she had?
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I
don't know if that's the right word, but she had a cool attitude, like don't I'm who I am, and if you don't like it, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'm like that. But I don't think it hurts people that are.
No. Just exploring that.
Uh-huh.
I don't have much of a bias toward one way or the other. I've listened to all kinds of different music. I like the in fact, the guy that produced that album was sort of a punk guy, right? A Giza person.
Well, Geza only produced,
Geza.
I think Geza only produced Bitch.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, he didn't do the other
no,
songs?
No, it was David.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Geza only did that song, but that was the only song on the album that was really a big hit.
Yeah, I like the hard driving, the sappy, most of my stuff was most of my influence was the 70s, and I think you too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now we had some things in common. I remember you talked about Carly Simon was a big thing. Did you have all those albums like No Secrets and
yes.
Hot Cakes and?
Yeah.
I loved that because of I just liked kind of like you do. She wrote most of her stuff, just like James Taylor did, Carole King did. Every once in a while, people would jump on the bandwagon with them, and that always created some magic. But Todd Rundgren was another one. What did you think of him back then?
I was a Todd freak. I still am.
Yeah.
In fact, a couple of months ago, I saw an ad on Facebook, of all places. Can you believe it? An ad on Facebook. That he was down at the Grove, a shopping center that's about 2 miles away.
Okay.
And as I was cussing out Facebook for all the unwanted advertising,
right.
I realized that I was the 1% that day. I was the one that saw Todd Rundgren was going to be at the Grove on Facebook, and got in my car and went down there and bought a CD and got my picture. I mean, I just, that's Something Anything album. For me, that was what pop music was all about. I loved it.
Now you're more of a lyricist, though, aren't you, than a song?
I do both.
You do both.
I do both. I think that people know me more as a lyricist because people needed lyricists almost more. When I first started out, I did as much music, and I think I looked at, I asked people for lyrics for my music, and I was never really satisfied with the lyrics. This is when I first started collaborating. I always wrote lyrics by myself.
Uh-huh.
And so I just thought, this isn't going to do if I want to make songs that have ideas about what's going on in my head. I'm going to have to write them myself. And most songwriters those days needed lyrics more than they needed music. So
yeah, and good stories probably that went with the songs.
So I just said, okay, well, that's what I'll contribute more of. But I'm very musical, and I'm happy to pick up a guitar. Unless somebody plays way better than I do, I'm happy to play.
Isn't the word Todd Rundgren in one of those songs you did for Meredith?
Maybe.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
It just occurred to me when I was talking about him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I got to give that album another listen.
I know.
It's been a while.
You know what you said
I've been
also?
Busy.
Let me remind you. Yeah, I know you're busy. One of the things you said at that event, I keep these things just flash through my head. You said something about the universe doesn't let you hear all your music. It'd be great if you could always put the CD in, but you'd like to hear it come across serious or something like that,
Well, I don't know how often that's going to happen.
No.
Everybody always calls me. They're like, I heard Bitch today. I heard Bitch today. I'm like, the universe is trying to keep me humble because I never hear it. I never hear my songs.
No, I wonder why that is.
I don't know why. You know,
doesn't
because
have to happen.
I very seldom listen to 90s and 2000s.
Yeah.
I listen to either 70s or today's music. I
Okay,
wasn't
no in
into
between.
The 90s, or maybe just the songs that Satellite picks for the 90s, or just, I don't know, but I guess that's why I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, they each have their goods and bads, but yeah, I think I'm the same way. Yeah, whatever's current, I'll listen to, but I haven't gone backtracked in like for anything from 2000 up to the present. It's
really.
Yeah.
Well, once I get on 70s, I can't get off.
Yeah, it's addictive. Because you either grew up with it or you go like, I didn't realize that song existed. Yeah.
Oh, those were the words.
Did you? Yeah. Some of those. As in, you said you were a Todd Rundgren fanatic. Did you have that first one, Something Anything?
Of course.
That was the one
that was the one.
That's the one that grabbed me, and in stations down here, AM stations would play "Hello, It's Me" and "I Saw the Light."
Yes.
And I heard that all the time, and it never really occurred to me that later on he told me that was that's sort of a tribute to Carole King. So it does sound like one of her songs. It looks like he was trying to do an homage to her.
I didn't know that. Which song? Hello.
Both of those. Hello,
really?
It's Me. Yeah, if you listen to it, same way I always felt with Carly Simon when she did.
You're So Vain.
That or The Right Thing to Do. Just these slow piano type ballads. It's I almost pictured Carole King at the piano, yet it had nothing to do with her. But you never know if they were all influenced.
We're influenced by our environment.
Yeah. But the reason I asked you about the lyrics and versus the music or together, Todd Rundgren was one of those guys I got inspired by because I like the way he recorded projects in his house in the 70s, and that got me going where I go, I want to do that too. So I would build up like a little makeshift studio with tape recorders and
right.
It was not something that I'd be proud of if I took pictures of it. You'd go like, what in the world is he doing with these little tiny it's like toys in his room.
Well, we all have to experiment. Yeah. That's how we find ourselves.
Yeah. I'm skipping a bunch of stuff. I could do a whole show if I asked you, have you heard of the Beatles before? That would be cool.
Don't even ask me that.
It's what's fun is that you used to do. People should go to your Facebook page. Is it still like /serial songwriter? And
Please do. I'll tell you what it is. It is www.facebook.com/serial-songwriter. And find me there, chat me up. I ask people not to send me music because I get sent so much music.
Me too.
I wouldn't be able to listen to it all, and it's really not fair to the writer because I can't focus. But I just can't give it all my attention because there's so much. But I'm happy to chat about anything music business.
Yeah.
And I'm available, and I actually return questions, answer questions. And my website is, Shelley Peiken, SHELLYPEIKEN.com.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Where does Peiken hail from? What is that? What does that mean?
My father.
Oh, really? Thank you. Okay, I'll scratch that one off.
His name. He had no sons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, how many? Do you have any siblings?
I have a sister.
You have a sister. Okay. When you were growing up, you mentioned the fact that you had like around 6 or something. You would sing songs, and you sort of had that enter your consciousness, but you really went on to go do fashion design.
Yeah, it happened late. We weren't growing up in such with all this media and the TV shows and the reality shows and the voice contestants, and it wasn't all around us all the time. Songs came from just kicking a pebble off the road. It came from real life. So I think kids, a lot of kids just think about what's going on around them and want to get into it at a way younger age.
Oh, that's kind of nice. Yeah, but you have something in common with my daughter. Went on to she's still in school doing the fashion design and marketing right now. She's a very talented designer. So, but we always had a love of music, and she took me. She's 25 now. She took me with her friends to Dodger Stadium the other day, and I'm actually wearing the concert T-shirt, AC/DC, and that's something I wasn't really into for a long time, but I knew all the songs, and they were all impressed. So they were impressed. I knew that, and beforehand they were playing some Beatles and Stones music, like to ramp up before the act came out. And they were going, "Dad, what's that song? What's the name of that song?
And you knew it all.
When did it come out?" Because I was a wealth of knowledge. Yeah, I was. I don't know about so much anymore. I think I have trouble with the recall nowadays. But I was pretty good at that, and I said, "Okay, ask me another one. Go ahead." So it's fun like that. Oh yeah, because I don't want to sit there and struggle with trying to relate to the kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nice talking to you,
Oh
Dean.
yeah, thank you so much. If you are so gracious to come back, I would welcome it.
Sure, let's do it when the book comes out. I'd love to.
Sure. The book should be coming out next year.
March 1.
March 1, 2016. That sounds great. And give Susan my...
I will. I'll have her get in touch. I'm sure she'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, please talk. If you had a nice time here talking, I will.
Absolutely.
Because you're a very nice woman to talk to.
Aw, thank you, Dean. Stay in touch.
Hold on. Before you go, would you do my tradition... artists and songwriters who listen to this, can you give them a quick little piece of Shelley wisdom for if they happen to be struggling, or they're something to keep them focused, and give them a pat on the back and say, just keep going?
Well, I would say, there's a lot of landmines out there, even more than there used to be, and warnings from people like me telling you how hard it is. If there's something you want to do in life, whether it's songwriting or anything else, ignore all the warnings.
Great.
You have to. In order to make it, you'll have to listen to the warnings, put them in the back of your mind, and keep going.
Wonderful. Let's talk when the book comes out, Shelley.
Please.
You are amazing and so approachable, and I think that that's going to come across in your book, so everybody should get that when it comes out. I'll make sure that everybody knows.
Great, Dean. Thank you so much.
Okay, you have a great day today.
Have a lovely.
And I'll be in touch with you later, okay?
Thank you.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.